beginning work in two areas that are related to the work that I've done looking at shrinking cities in the United States. One is looking at the potential changes in settlement patterns that will have to happen due to climate change if climate change mitigation doesn't pan out perfectly. And that's something I'll be looking at in the Boston region through the Center for Advanced Urbanism starting this summer. Another thing I'm looking at is the condition of deindustrializing cities in overseas countries, particularly in Eastern Europe, which is a whole different set of history, different kind of built environment, different set of political conditions, but very similar economic and social challenges. Ukraine is a country in Eastern Europe. It became independent from the Soviet Union in 1991. It's still struggling to some extent with that issue of how independent of Russia it will become economically and politically. Ukraine inherited an industrial economy that was derived from the Soviet Union. Cities were built according to government command. The government would designate a new city for the construction of automobiles, for example, or to extract coal in this region. It wasn't an economy that was based on economic logic as much as it was based on political logic. Since 1991, Ukraine has been retooling its economy to adapt to an era of capitalism where cities have to have an economic rationale for being. It's been an extremely, extremely challenging transition. It's actually a condition that's so difficult that when you look at American cities, you start to feel like American cities have a lot of things figured out compared to cities in Eastern Europe. The challenge in Ukraine is very particular. It's not part of the European Union, nor is it part of Russia, so it really lacks the fiscal subsidies that a lot of other countries in Europe have benefited from, such as Germany and Poland. At the same time, Ukraine has an uncertain sense of civil society. In other words, it has a population that's a little bit skeptical of government due to their history. So you don't necessarily have an easy time finding out what people really believe or getting citizens to participate in public efforts or even to participate in government. You also don't have a strong rule of law, so a very complex legal situation. Combined with, as I said, this industrial economy where you have entire cities that were essentially industrial. So you have industrial parks and industrial plants that extend for kilometers and kilometers. Ukraine has an immobile population, so people tend to stay in the house that they were either given as part of the Soviet Union or purchased as part of property reform efforts following. So this is something that I've begun to investigate as of last fall, and I'll be visiting the country again in June as a guest of the government to take a look at a couple of more cities, and maybe it's something that I'll investigate in courses next year. But it's a whole new world of challenges, and I think it's a country and an economic condition that is very poorly known in the United States. We know Ukraine mostly for its political problems, and I think it's an exciting area to look at.